Here we have it, the Surface Go 4 tablet. So this device, just like the Surface Pro 10, actually has not been released to consumers. I'm not sure if there's going to even be a consumer version of it. If there is, I'm probably just going to give it the same name. I don't think there has been an announcement for a Surface Go 5, but I'll definitely go ahead and take a look at that. Anything happens. I mean, the announcement for the Pro 11 and the laptop 7 was only just literally just days ago, just introduced by Microsoft. So let's see what we got here. This device is actually really more geared for business use, frontline workers, kiosk use, basically all these kind of business kind of related stuff, construction workers, and who knows what else, medical field even as well too, from what they mentioned on their website. So let's go ahead and give it an opening. This did come in a brown box, non-retail box over here. And here's our device in this little sleeve over here, which I actually do enjoy over the little paper sleeve because those things just rip and just look ugly once you do that. This nice little reusable little bag here can actually just be used just to actually even keep the device safe from scratches and everything else. And I did actually get this in the standard platinum color. I believe that's the only color they have available at this time. I usually like to get these devices in a nice black color or a different color, blue, green. I don't think the Go tablets have been released in any other than just two colors. Pretty much the same form factor as the Surface Go 2 and 3. Obviously the screen has the bezels on the sides have not changed, basically the same thing. And looking at the back, just same thing here as well too. I'll definitely do a little overview of all the ports. But let's see what else we got here in the box. Looks like we probably just have our standard, basically a 45 watt charger. Looks like this box does come out. Actually what I'm really used to, you pull out your charger here, and it looks like it is basically a standard 45 watt charger right there with the standard Microsoft proprietary connection. And up here, probably just some paperwork. Nothing too special. Basically the same thing you always see. They might even just be reusing it. Well, that's new, I guess, and just their website and some other little details there. I do not see any other details here on the box, but there probably is a couple of little details here underneath. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. And yes, you probably can see right over here where it says Surface Go 4, the processor, the memory, and 64 gigs of hard disk space. I wish the minimum was really 128. If you're really going to gear this towards frontline workers, you need more space. Let's go ahead and plug it in as well too. And ready for first boot. I actually do have an Alcantara type keyboard for this, not specifically for this device, but if you do have a type keyboard for the Go 2, Go 3, even the original Go, as far as I understand, you can absolutely go ahead and use this with this device here. Let's just go ahead and give it a first boot here. I'm not sure why it's doing this over and over and over, but it's probably just a process of first boot. And there we have it. Windows 11 should be popping up here any moment. Sorry about the reflection, a little too much. It is a very sunny day here. It feels like summer is actually officially kicking in. It's still the end of May. I am really not sure if Microsoft has all these devices intended for business use, all down to a really low volume level, but did not hear the Windows 11 jingle there, but no big deal. Actually, we just go ahead and raise it a little bit. So here you go, your standard Windows 11 setup here. I'm going to go pretty much through this process and meet you when we're on the Windows 11 desktop. All right, we're through Windows 11 setup, and we are now at the Windows 11 desktop over here. I'm still not connected to the internet, so we're just going to see some little goofy things like that. As well as also, you can see many of the apps have now automatically been downloaded as of yet. Actually, just want to open up Task Manager and just take a look at basically our CPU here, see if there's been any changes. I'm going to change that over to logical processes. Looks like the same 4-core thing we actually have seen on previous generations as well. You can definitely see the memory is at 8 gigabytes. That's always a good thing. And just pulling up some other little things here. I want to actually go ahead and see if the display is still the same 1080 display as well too. And then I'll just do a quick walkthrough of the device over here. And we'll get some Windows updates installed here and all that good stuff. So let's see here. So it looks like it is basically the 920 by 1280. Okay, so that's actually really nice. Bring the scale down a little bit, maybe to like 125. Everything's a little bit smaller, but still legible right there. So looks like a pretty nice device. Let's go ahead and take a look at all the connections and available ports we actually have on it. There are not any ports or connections on the left side of the device, but right over here we can immediately see that the 3.5mm headphone jack is on this side now and available for use. I'm actually really surprised it's even still there, but considering this is actually geared toward business customers, maybe I can probably understand that one. Just below we do have the USB-C connection we've always seen on the Go tablet devices. Very useful right over there. And just below we do have the proprietary Microsoft charging port connection, which can also be used for Microsoft Docks and other devices that will end up using that connection as well. Nothing really to see on the back until you actually lift the little flap right over here. And that's actually basically a form factor that Microsoft's been using on the Go tablets for some time, which I actually really do enjoy. And down here we do have basically the logo, some other information up here, and the serial number. Underneath we do have the little connection here for that keyboard. I basically just attach. If you're going to have a keyboard from a previous generation Go device, it should definitely be working on your Go 4 as well too. And something I wasn't expecting but very happy to still see is basically the SD card slot. So micro SD, if you want to go ahead and plug in a little chip in there, basically kind of like expanding your hard drive space to some degree, feel free to go ahead and connect one in here. You can immediately see that there's actually no latch or door here accessible to access the built-in SSD on this device, so you will not be able to go ahead and upgrade the hard drive space or SSD on this device here. I guess this micro SD slot is kind of like the only thing you can really do. So just bear that in mind. If you're going to go ahead and purchase this device, 64 gigabytes in this case may not be enough for you. Something you definitely should go ahead and consider. And on the top, as far as I know, in previous generation Go devices, these buttons have not moved. They're still in the same place. We have our power up button and our volume up and down button on the top of the device. So that's actually really been noticing to be the best location to actually put these buttons as opposed to putting them on the sides, which the Surface Pro 8 previously had, and I think Microsoft did basically a whole turnaround on the 180 and put them right back on the top of the device. That's basically how Windows 11 is going to look on your first boot here, and not even connected to the internet. I'm going to go ahead and connect to the internet, as I said before, get some Windows updates installed, get some programs installed as well too, customize it a little bit, and get back to you. We'll do a quick follow-up there and start doing some reviews, benchmarks. Hopefully the SSD built into this device is actually a little bit quicker. If you're going to gear it towards business customers, it should at least be a gigabyte a second of accessibility speed, but I guess we'll actually see. So let's go ahead and take care of that, and we'll do a full walkthrough. So it took about an hour to an hour and a half for the Windows updates to actually be downloaded, installed, and processed, and pretty much the whole process just to fully finish up. And I did also do a little bit of cleanup. I uninstalled some programs. For some reason, uninstalling the preloaded version of Office and all the other little things there that came with it, OneDrive and Teams even, took a little bit longer than I anticipated. It actually appeared like I got stuck during the uninstallation process, which is really odd. It's sending a little message there to Microsoft there. I mean, I don't know what that's about. But a quick reboot and the software is pretty much all gone. I would go ahead and install my own version of Office 2019, install another browser as well too, and here we are fully updated. There were a couple little firmware updates as well too, so the device did reboot a couple of times, I would say once or twice, and then just downloaded one more Windows updates before proceeding. Total time, about an hour to an hour and a half, I'd say. So let's go ahead and just open up a couple of applications here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up Word, Excel, perhaps, and this is actually a fully activated version right over here. Probably open up Edge and Firefox, So you can actually see the device is actually pretty speedy, and no real slowdown here, just opening on multiple applications as well. So even though I'm pretty sure from 8 gigs of RAM, the percentage of use is probably going to go up pretty quickly and start getting a little clogged up with use, but still working pretty well. And I'm going to do a couple of little tests here, such as a benchmark test, which I'm just going to jump into next. Let's see how the front-facing selfie camera actually works and the microphone on board this actually performs. And we'll do a little quick reboot and power off test as well too. And then maybe jump into a usual little YouTube video and see how high you can go up past 1080, 1440, or even full out 4K. So let's go ahead and close up some applications here. Looks like it's the first time I actually opened up Firefox, and now everything is showing up here. I'm just going to go ahead and close everything out. We do have Crystal Dismark right over here, and I'm going to go ahead and punch this up. So here we go. I'm just going to do one cycle benchmark here. So I'm really hoping that the speed is at least maybe 1500 megabytes a second. Anything better than that would even be more of a icing on the cake here and make this device really worthwhile. Previous generations of the Surface Go tablet, particularly the earlier versions, did actually have a little issue with speed. The base model of like the 2 and 3 have a different SSD drive installed there that basically hardly even passes 250 megabytes a second, which is very poor performance there, but that device is somewhat on a cheaper level. I don't think it's really that much more expensive to really get a good SSD here on that device. So it looks like this one does have a better SSD. Though unfortunately, the numbers don't really hit as I was really hoping, just a little under a gigabyte a second in terms of read speed. We'll see what the write speed actually is. And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, this device does not have a removable SSD drive, so you won't be able to actually go ahead and upgrade it. You can definitely go ahead and just choose out the model with the size SSD that you would like. I really would wish that possibly, considering that this is really geared towards business users, that I'm a little surprised that the SSD is not really, doesn't have the option to be upgradable. And that's an unfortunate number I'm seeing there in terms of write speed. Now, mind you, this is the base model of the Surface Go 4 device, so it's still a little bit of a mystery if the higher tier version, such as basically all you're going to get is just a higher hard drive space and possibly 16 gigs of RAM. I don't think I saw that model available, but I can definitely go ahead and take a look again. But 200 megabytes a second in terms of write, which unfortunately is not really anything stellar. And here we have the numbers from this Crystal Dismark, and basically just a little under 1 gigabyte a second read, and just definitely on the 250 megabytes a second write speed, which is really not impressive at all. They did actually mention before the release of the Surface Go 4 device that once it was announced, the device would actually, in terms of processing power, in terms of the CPU, that it would actually be on par or even better than basically the iQore 3 model of the Surface Go 3 device. And I actually have done a review on that device, so definitely go ahead and check that out if you'd like to see some numbers there. But I'm not really seeing not really getting the indication that and the impression that that's actually going to really be too helpful, considering the hard drive space, the hard drive speeds here are not particularly anything impressive. So again, just a little bit of a disappointment there, but let's go see what else this device has to offer. So as I've done in previous videos regarding Surface devices, here I'm going to go ahead and just play a little YouTube video here. Well, not particularly the most common feature of benchmarking or whatnot within the reviewer community. Just want to go ahead and jump out just basically real world experience here. If you're just going to watch basically a 1080 video on your device over here. The device is already getting a little somewhat toasty, especially the back here. Now the stuff I actually done just a moment ago, and particularly the benchmark, so it looks like it really has pushed the device a little bit to its limit, though a little warm, but basically not the most you're not going to burn yourself doing holding like that, kind of like the old days when you had the laptop on your lap and basically it's just getting warm. So here's a video I actually filmed in Poland back in 2023, and definitely look out. I'll definitely be posting some more travel related videos from recent trips as well, particularly in Austria, in Vienna. Let's go ahead and bring this up to full screen. And just to let you know, this is currently, just bring up the number here, a 1080 video playing at 60 frames per second. Let's go ahead and skip a little bit. And this is actually filmed in Krakow, in the Old Town area, which is a really beautiful place to visit. If you ever hit Poland, by all means, definitely hit Krakow and check out Old Town. It's just a really wonderful area to be. And I'll just go ahead and see that. If you're wondering why there's no ads playing, I actually did put a little bit of an ad blocker here, just only for the basically this purpose of this video. I think it's a little cliche and kind of silly for ads to appear for my own video, and I'm actually the person watching it, so I just wanted to give that little heads up to anyone watching, like, why are you using ad block? Well, I just mentioned it. So let's go ahead and jump into 1440 and let's see how this device actually does. I usually like to pause it just so I can basically catch up a little bit in terms of downloading that. Otherwise you'll get a little bit of a buffering issue, but it didn't seem like I had to actually do that. I didn't even do that there when switching over to 1440, and there was absolutely no problem playing it. The picture looks very sharp, very bright. The brightness is around 90 to 95 right now. I did turn the auto brightness off so it wouldn't be adjusting it on its own. And the picture actually looks really amazing. In terms of sound, the speakers are pretty much the same as the previous two generations of the Go device. No real improvement there. I know YouTube has had this particular option called stable volume, and for whatever reason I do not actually see that brought up or mentioned here. Well, basically, I'm guessing the volume kind of gets syncs to the volume of your actual device as opposed to being too loud or too low. This usually really affects if you're going to be watching movie clips, and movie clip volumes are usually known to be really low. It just basically elevates it a little bit and syncs it up with what you have here, so you don't immediately hear something really loud and something really low bouncing between one video and another on YouTube. By the way, that's really amazing. Just happened to walk over that, like a little photo shoot going on, some dancers. And mind you, even though they're all dressed pretty comfortably there, it is actually very cold in February in Krakow. Absolutely. I would say in Krakow at nighttime it would drop below or around 20 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Definitely below 0 degrees Celsius there, or just around. Alright, so the moment we've all been waiting for, let's go ahead and jump this into a 4K video. By the way, just to let you know, it is currently plugged in, so running at pretty much the maximum performance this device has to offer. Now, just for the sake of being careful, I am going to pause this for a moment, just so I can actually catch up in case it does have a little bit of a buffering issue. And here we go. Ooh, just pushing the device down a little bit, definitely can feel the device getting warm again. But good news is, if you're curious, I have not seen a single frame skip or any little issue playing 4K at 60 frames per second here so far. So maybe perhaps the new processor they have in here is definitely showing its shine, and not disappointed there. But one little last goofy test. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, disconnect this from the plug, and have it just run off battery. The idea is, running off battery, the processor will probably run just a little bit slower just to conserve energy and power. I'm sure it probably is here, but if it did drop the frequency a little bit, or any other power saving feature has been enabled now that it's been unplugged, I definitely don't see the side effect. Seems to be running pretty well, pretty stable. I do notice a little bit of a small jitter, but I think that just might be the video itself and not the actual playback of it. Definitely seems to be performing pretty well. And again, we are still at 4K, as you can see that. So very impressive for a very small device, running 4K video pretty much flawlessly. I am using Mozilla Firefox for this playback. I've just noticed in previous videos and reviews that Microsoft Edge, for some reason, seems to have a little bit of a small little frame skip or jittering, almost as if it's playing at less than 60 frames per second, causing the video to basically perform a little oddly. I'm not sure if anyone here has noticed that. I'm not sure why Edge does that, but it's definitely something I've noticed on my devices and even on the computer. Looks like I did have a little bit of a pause there. Kind of hard to tell if that was actually buffering or just the device skipping a beat, but it was only one so far in the course of like a minute and a half playing 4K video. So if it really was, so far so good and no complaints here. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Well, the device definitely has some improvements, such as the video playback and some other features as well too from the previous generation of Surface Go 3. There are some shortcomings, such as the SSD. I actually really was expecting quite a bit more of improvement there. But you know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it doesn't really appear to really sell the case, trying to be really geared for business customers and for business use. There are just a couple of things here that really could have improved on, and a couple of this is obviously just a matter of opinion of mine, but there are a couple of things that definitely could have implemented on this particular generation, particularly if it's going to be for business use. Obviously, number one, better SSD speed. Obviously, the read speed seemed okay for the moment, but write speed was just really lacking. Now, mind you, this is a base model. It's hard to tell if the upgrade models here with the bigger hard drives and possibly 16 gigs of RAM, I'm really hoping that's an option or will be an option. 8 gigs definitely does go much further than 4 gigs that usual Go base models actually have, but 16 gigs would definitely just be a really good selling point. And it's obviously possible. Memory chips are just not a really big deal unless you're going to actually start going past 64 gigs per DIMM. So obviously that's a big issue there. The SSD being unable to be replaced or upgraded is also another shortcoming right there as well too. You basically just have a Go 3 or just a better processor to some degree here. So there are a couple of suggestions I can definitely give. Obviously, one for a future generation of Go tablets, if Microsoft's really hoping to continue to invest in it. One would definitely be a possible interest in different processors here. Now, obviously, the previous generation of Surface Go 3, when they introduced the i3 model, I immediately noticed a pretty good improvement. And a number of people who commented on the videos obviously saw it themselves as well too when they compared it to their device or a previous review on the Surface Go 3. So definitely a good processor would really make this thing shine and sell the case. Now, obviously, being a smaller unit, that might be a little difficult, definitely poses challenges. However, something that could probably save the day here is using an ARM-based processor or something similar to that, basically what they're introducing in the Surface Pro 11 for consumer models and the laptop 7, I believe now. Oof, starting to get lost of all the numbers. So something like that in the Go device would immediately give you some options. Probably the biggest one is using 5G and also a more power-efficient CPU, supposedly. It does possibly introduce a big issue with compatibility on software, but obviously we'll go ahead and see how the Pro 11 and its counterpart laptop will obviously fare, considering it will be using a mobile processor there as opposed to using Intel or, unfortunately no longer AMD processors. And by the way, that was a big loss too. That's another suggestion as well too, getting to that. Being able to have the option to use AMD Ryzen CPU, maybe something more mobile on this device would be something that completely attracts me, and that would immediately be a really good selling point there, just as an option, because basically all Microsoft has been doing with their Go lineup is just upgrading the processor every generation, and obviously the bezel did get a little smaller and thinner after the Go 2 was introduced, but that's just basically been the same thing for the last 2 generations. That being said, a future Go generation smaller bezel would really be nice, even though it's just kind of icing on the cake. The bezel is actually kind of small, but would be a great upgrade. Maybe even possibly the device might be even a little bit thinner, but again, I'm just throwing a little icing on the cake options right there. But I'm going to some big option right here. One thing I immediately would love to see, I just had to brighten that up there since we're looking at the side now, an additional USB-C port, if possible. I know that might be a little tough, but it would be definitely a very welcome option. The reason I mention that is because sometimes if you're going to be using a connecting something here, like let's say a charger, or even if you're going to be plugging in a USB device, so you're going to plug in your adapter and then plug in a USB A device, like you can use your thumb drive, because there's not that many USB-C style USB thumb drives out there. You are now using this port, and it's no longer really available to you in terms of USB-C usage. So you obviously, if you're going to connect an adapter, that would probably split into like a three-way USB-A type port. So just something to keep in mind there, but still, an additional port would be an additional selling point there, especially for business customers when you do have the option to connect that to two different monitors. That might be pushing it a little bit, considering this is just not a pro device, just a little Go. But the additional port would immediately be a really good selling point right there. So as I mentioned, while it definitely has some pretty good improvements, pretty decent performance, I do see that the base model definitely much better than the base model in the previous generation. But still hard to really sell considering the other limitations it actually has, and the big one in this case being the SSD speed, the write speed, which will bottleneck a lot of little potential things here. And as I mentioned before, just getting Office to uninstall off this device, or all the Office preloaded stuff, took quite a while, and even at one point gave me an error, and that's just it just kind of shows the limitations there on the Pro 10. That was pretty went off without a hitch. I think everything was pretty much uninstalled within like 5 to 8 minutes. Here, it actually took me close to 45 minutes or so, and read and write speeds here just really bottleneck the system from really showing any magic from any particular CPU, or even a good amount of memory installed in this. So a couple little suggestions there for Microsoft, a couple of little options here that could hopefully be seen in the future generation of the Go device. I really do enjoy the Go style tablets here. I use one at work myself, even if it's a base model. I'm still able to play videos on YouTube and just decent browsing, ordering food online to go pick up for pickup or delivery. Very easy device to use, and that device is already going on a couple of years now and still strong. I'm pretty sure the battery's going to start flunking out at some point, but still going pretty well. And a couple of more upgradable options on this device would really keep interest going, or even lure more interest as well too. When I was in Europe, I did actually notice a number of people traveling with the Go device. It's very convenient, very small. You do have the option to use a keyboard there, and also as a cover. The type cover is definitely a good seller right there. A little flimsy, but it definitely does serve its purpose. But without the type cover, this device is definitely an amazing, really useful device to take on the go. Very small and convenient to take with you, very lightweight as well too, and you'll obviously be able to do some good work on that, download some good apps, get Office going, check your mail, watch YouTube videos in 4K as I mentioned, even running off the charger. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Definitely shoot a like. Go ahead and subscribe. I will be doing a good comparison between this device and the Go 3, and also Go 2 as well too. No pun intended there. And just maybe some other little things, see if gaming actually works on this to any particular degree, and maybe even be daring and toss Windows 10 on it. I know a lot of people are still using Windows 10, so let's see if we can actually go ahead and put like Windows 10 Enterprise or Pro and see how it runs here compared to Windows 11. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and as always, stay safe and take care. Hope you enjoyed.